Can you imagine that if you were a New York Times reader in 1961 and you open and there's a full page ad that's got 3,000 words.
Hmm.
3,000 words. And then not only does he have the headlines and the explanation why they work, but it's got this fantastic little caption.
Hello and welcome to another episode of the Persuasion Play Podcast. My name is Jeffrey at goldmine.marketing, where I write about persuasion, motivation, and influence and how you can influence your brains and the brains around you towards better outcomes. Today I have a very special guest, Lawrence Bernstein, who's calling in from Phoenix, Arizona. Lawrence is a direct mail archivist, I guess maybe the best way to put it. Maybe you have a better way to put it. Lawrence, why don't you give us a
No,
little?
that's fine. If I say I'm a copywriter, throw a stone and you hit a copywriter around the corner. If I say I'm an archivist, well, yeah, there are fewer of them, so
For sure.
it's perfectly fine.
But you're certainly a copywriter as well. I'm a member of your Ad Money Machine, which is a fantastic resource for all kinds of old winning copy
I
to use as
appreciate
inspiration
that.
and research. So, how long have you been in this game?
I don't know, 25 years or so,
Okay.
something like that. Yeah, a little while.
So your info marketing blog, is that kind of where you first got started with that before the Ad Money Machine?
Well, I mean, as far as online goes, yeah, I guess I launched a
Yeah,
blog in 2007 when that was kind of a novel thing.
sure.
Before that, I did stuff with direct mail. I still do.
Nice.
But this was a blog that I launched anonymously in 2007, info marketing blog. And back then, people used to comment very robustly. They would read something, and it's just amazing the difference between now and say the mid 2000s, where you would send an email blast. I remember in 2004, 2005, you'd send an email blast. You'd have your email client, Microsoft Outlook, just
Mhm.
keep dinging, for minutes and minutes and minutes at a time. One email blast could generate, 100 sales
Wow.
for like
Yeah.
a $300 product. Yeah. So, but we have to roll with the punches. Yeah, we live in a different time and different level of attention span. And obviously, the medium is much more occupied with marketers and copywriters and promoters. So, we just have to stay relevant with the times.
Yeah, certainly. Um,
What do you think about that? When did you get into the game, if you don't mind me asking you a question?
Yeah, 2017, maybe even a little before that, I started looking into concepts around like persuasion. I wanted my boss to grow the team at work.
Yes,
I was in IT, and I wanted to have our team billable to our outside clients. And to do that, they weren't interested in doing that where I was working.
yeah,
And so I was like, well, if we can grow our team, we'll have more people to do this. We can do it first before growing our team, but self-sustaining thing rather than being what they called the overhead department.
yeah.
Anyway, so I took a Dale Carnegie course on motivating and influencing people, and I just kind of started there. Then
Nice.
a couple, year or two into that, I started reading about persuasion and motivation, and I stumbled across direct response marketing, and I was like, it was obviously I had received direct response mail and in the mail
Yes.
and emails, but I didn't understand what it was necessarily until I came across this concept of direct response.
Right. It's kind of like you have this metanoia. You have this moment where everything changes. You say, hey, wait a second. All this mail I've been getting for years yeah, I mean, granted, there's unaddressed mail, there's value packs, there's,
Sure.
stuff where people just send a postcard and there's no call to action, right? You get those too.
Oh yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, I guess I had that moment, probably in the late 90s. Yeah.
That's
So
great. So yeah, I've been doing it for a few years and interviewing
nice.
smart people like you with looking for insights and stories.
Well,
And
we'll see. We'll
what
see
gives you
about
that?
that. But thanks for the vote of confidence. Yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, we just got a postcard the other day in the mail for a service. I'm not sure what it is. Service on a Subaru mailed from, I think it was Tennessee to somebody in here in St. Paul, but not our address, not our vehicle. And it had a weak call to action, but it
Yeah.
was not very well. It didn't reach its intended audience, and it's for a
Sure.
service center so very far away. It's useless.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it shows the value of having a good list broker,
Right.
and somebody who knows their lists, and somebody, especially if you can get a buyer's list and especially if something like that, you get somebody within a zip code range where they could actually show up at your center and get a service. Yeah.
Yeah. You're just talking about, online marketing and email being, especially being more and more filled with marketers and the importance of staying relevant. I think a lot of people don't understand how relevant direct mail, postal mail still is.
Yeah, that's a good point, Jeffrey. I've been reading more and more about how, and I always mix up the generations. So
Yeah, yeah.
I'm born, at the time after the baby boomers, but my kids who are, two teenagers and one 21-year-old, they don't draw a distinction with that generation born after World War II and before, 1965 or 4, I think it is. Everybody with a gray hair is a boomer, you know.
Sure.
But I was reading about how I guess it's Gen Z. Is it Gen Z or Gen Y? I don't know. Probably that generation born in the 90s, but how they are they really dig direct mail and they like the sense that it's personal and they can hold it and it's tactile and they can interact with it and that kind of motivates me to want to find out a little bit more about it and do like some statista research and also dig into databases and see what's really going on with that group because I don't know. Do you know Marshall McLuhan and the medium is the message? Have you ever heard of
Oh,
that before?
yeah, actually, I started reading it. I didn't recognize the author name. I did start reading
Yeah.
it, and a friend and I were going to read it together, but then I didn't.
Yeah, yeah, I know how it goes. But actually, the book title is not "The Medium is the Message." It has some. Now, in retrospect, yeah, you could say this was the title you should have chosen in 1968. Why didn't you choose it? But nevertheless, I think that's really a great sort of axiom for marketers is understanding like what that means. The medium is the message. So the direct mail medium is the message is kind of like, well, let's take a text message that's instant. Usually it's a family member. Um, it's very tactile. There's you can do it like 10 times in a 10-minute span or something.
Mhm.
But with the direct mail piece, this is something that's very personal and something that's tactile as opposed to the fleeting email message, that comes across your screen.
Yeah,
So I think that's kind of an important factor for that generation born in the 90s, yeah, who are appreciating direct mail marketing.
sure. Yeah. Um, I personally love records and cameras and physical things. I know my cell phone can do all of that stuff, but I don't
Yeah,
want it to do all that
yeah,
stuff.
absolutely, absolutely. Um, One of the things I guess we just have to recognize, though, and I was talking to I don't know, I'm not probably not at liberty to mention his name, but somebody who's been one of the best direct mail copywriters for decades, and he's incredibly successful today, probably near about 80 years old with another company. And he mentioned that because all of the readers are digesting the emails on a mobile phone, that the subject line today has to be something quick, uh, snappy, and easy to process, while you're holding this and scrolling. So the way that, like back to medium is the message. Yeah. So it's instant. You got a short time window, direct mail, you got a great direct mail package. Like, take a look at this. So this is Dr. Whitaker, uh, and it is the world's greatest vitamin secrets. Now in here, look at this. Look at this table of contents over here. So it's
Oh yeah,
actually a glossary. So if you're somebody like me, who's middle-aged, a little older than middle-aged in my case, and say you want to find out about, knee pain or liver failure, low libido, any of that, this is something that can stick around on your desk. It has a shelf life, literally. It has a desk life. So compare that to like an email message where, you just trigger finger, delete it. It doesn't last. So yeah, that's an
and
important thing to keep in mind, today, I think.
yeah, there's a lot of you know content there. It's not just an advertisement. It's something that people can reference and look back at and use again and again and again, and then
Yeah.
keeps your product or your service front of mind.
Yeah, yeah, make your advertising valuable, right?
Yeah, yeah, sure.
So yeah, so that idea from that great copywriter is, yeah, you have to adjust your marketing to the medium also. So I like subject lines. I'd like to test like, a bunch of them. But the fact is, today versus say like 10, 15 years ago, definitely 15 years ago, yeah, you have to have something that's shorter and sweeter
Hmm.
to get a fighting chance in a crowded inbox.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I was looking at my phone. I got the smallest phone I could find, and I think it's got about 30 or 35 characters of a
Yeah.
subject line fits on the screen.
I'm sure you're familiar with Ken McCarthy, Jeffrey, right?
Really. Yeah.
Yeah. So I think, I mean, up until recently, he was carrying like a flip phone, because he didn't want to have all that stuff in there. He wanted a phone that functioned as a phone and
Hmm.
not as a texting device and social media center and a camera and 20 gazillion other apps that you can, stuff on your homepage. So that's kind of an
Yeah.
interesting take.
Yeah. So you do both email marketing and direct response marketing for clients. You got any good stories for us?
Good stories that don't contain any gossip, because that's one of my vices that I've almost eradicated.
I can do gossip.
No, yeah, no thanks. Good stories. I don't know. Give me a hint. Like, what department are you looking
Yeah, I
for?
don't know. Like, well, what's a big failure, a big package that you tried to write and we're hoping for success and just
Uh,
missed the mark? That's
I make no secret of it. I mean, I have a lot of duds,
yeah.
and I think that this mystique of the copywriter, that everything that I touch or produce somehow is going to be great and it's going to be, it's going to generate response. That's not always true. I've written a lot of duds, um, but I've also had a lot of successes also. So. Uh, I work with some big companies in Europe, a big supplement seller there whose products are sold in 40 countries. And I like alternative health. I like beauty. I've done quite a bit of stuff in the beauty market. So this is something, probably people don't enter and exit this market too easily. You kind of have to like know your stuff there. Um, you can't just wing it.
As a marketer, you mean?
Well, I guess specialization, it goes to the question of specialization, right?
Right.
So, I mean, there are people who are writing financial, packages or promos or that sort of thing. And we've seen a lot of change, I guess, in the financial marketing arena where, you may remember like those $2,000 packages that were basically the options trading package du jour. And they were big, for years. Some companies made their bones on it, but
Mhm.
nowadays you've got Substack, you've got 1,000 channels on YouTube about fintech and finance and all kinds of stuffs and trading. So why do you need to spend 2K on a secret widget options trading package, or even for that matter today, like a $99 newsletter, because you've just got so much on X, Twitter, Substack, YouTube.
Sure. Oh yeah. Yeah, the world's filled with information, but I do think there's a market for curation of that information, right? Just because it's out there doesn't mean um, it's all intelligent or well researched or well produced or whatever. So if
Yeah.
somebody were to curate that, you can certainly make products out of that, I guess.
Absolutely, yeah. And I guess one of the key points there has to be staying power. So you
Sure.
look at something, today, is that going to be around, in 6 months? Is that going to be around, even some things with Facebook, like messages, the medium. So if you're an advertiser on Facebook, yes, that stuff can get vaporized, knocked off, or you have the compliance issue with Facebook, which, marketers are pretty familiar with now.
Hmm.
So, but even if you do get past compliance, yeah, your ad is probably going to be knocked off. So I guess what's the message is the medium with Facebook is that prepare to be knocked off, prepare for a short, lifespan for your ad,
Hmm.
and get ready to, adjust, etc. So
Yeah, Rosser Reeves talks about it in his book, Reality in Advertising, that brands, companies will often want to change their campaigns because they're bored with it, but not because their market's bored with it. But yeah, now when every winning campaign is just stolen and reproduced by your competitor, you really have to be fast, huh?
yeah, it is. I don't back to direct mail again. Yeah, I don't know if you've ever heard Dan Kennedy referencing. Trying to think of the publisher Lyle Stewart. Have you ever heard of Lyle Stewart?
No.
So he was a big direct mail marketer for his own publishing company in the 70s. Lots of varieties of different books, from Diet to Stop Smoking, to gambling, and so he actually had this concept that Dan Kennedy often referenced. Perhaps he still does. It's been a while since I've been at one of his events, but he said that with direct mail, you make your money in the dark. So you send, a a direct mail envelope or whatever. So what's inside of this here? Well, I'm going to do a test mail job to 250,000 people. All right, they're multi-buyers, right? So I want to send
Mhm.
it to multi-buyers. Uh, it's for coins and currency, right? So I just
Sure.
need you to raise your hand and say, I'd like that. And guess what, though? After you buy some kind of loss leader or you buy some sort of self-liquidating offer, maybe it's a $2 bill that you pay $2 for, and I send it to you. What's the point of that? Well, later on, I know that you're somebody who's buying coins and currency. Maybe you're going to buy $1 million worth of silver bullion from me. I don't know. Maybe you're going to
Mhm.
buy silver rounds. Um, the sky is kind of the limit in that market. So this envelope, really, unlike the Facebook ad, is something that it's going to be a long, long time before somebody gets a hold of it, and then it's going to even take longer to knock it off. So that's
Sure.
another interesting concept. Yeah, think about direct mail.
Is there, you know better than I do. Is there a demand for people buying $2 bills for $2? I mean, you can go to the
Oh,
bank, but
heck yeah.
they're just there. Like
100%. Yeah,
I get
one
them
of the
all the time.
best one of the best lead gen offers of the last 10 years is from a company called Littleton Coin.
Uh-huh.
They're up in northern New Hampshire,
Okay.
and actually Victor Schwab helped to launch the company. So yeah, pretty quickly they became one of the largest mailers in northern New Hampshire back after the war. But over the last 5, 7 years, yeah, that $2 bill, buy a fresh $2 bill for $2, one of the best lead generation ads, in terms of how long it lasted and how widely it was published, in online, in print. Just a great lead generating ad.
Oh, that's cool. Had not really considered that. Like I said, they're just available at the bank.
Oh yeah, well, are they really?
I
Have
am.
you,
I,
have
I
you-
get them all the time.
go to your, yeah, I've done that a few times. I would go and I would ask for silver rounds, let's say,
Hmm.
at the bank. Yeah, I just have a whole Lawrence's show and tell here, Jeffrey. So I'll
That's
do.
cool.
Just don't ask about any contraband, okay? Not that I have any, okay? So I mean, you could actually go to your bank and ask if they have like Eisenhower's or Kennedy, half dollars.
Uh-huh.
Sometimes they'll have it, and you'll always come out ahead because they could be worth 5 or 7%, or if you're lucky, they could be worth, 50% more than the face value, something like that. But the case with the lead generating self-liquidating offers, like I don't know if you knew on eBay, like in the 90s, there was a marketer who would sell guitar picks, like 1,000 guitar picks for, I don't know, some insanely low price. $19 for 1,000 guitar picks. Why in the world would I want to sell guitar picks? I'm not, there's no margin for me there. I get them from China. I sell them here. Well, guess what? Those guys who bought the guitar picks, they're going to get an offer for an electric guitar. They're going to get an offer for a Fender or a Stratocaster. And that could be like, I don't know, say like a Jimi Hendrix signed one that you've got for, wow, that would be worth something, right? Be worth maybe $1 million to start with. Because there's
Sure.
always going to be a Hendrix fan out there who's going to dish it. Yeah, it's for the sentimental, nostalgic, the eternal value of having a Hendrix, Stratocaster,
Yeah,
whatever.
and you're building your list with those picks, right?
Yeah, for sure. Absolutely. Yeah. So that's kind of like the lead generation fundamentals, like free throw shooting in basketball.
Yeah. I never really thought about auctioning off $1 million Hendrix guitar, but I have one over here. Not really.
Oh, okay. Yeah. You've been celebrating though recently, Jeffrey. I can tell by the balloons in the background. And yeah, I've
Yeah,
sanitized my background. So there's
my
now,
son just turned 10, so yeah.
oh, kudos on that. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you.
Kudos.
Yeah. So tell us about a few of the different industries that you've written for, if you would.
So mostly these days, as far as clients, it's health and beauty.
Okay.
I
Yep.
am doing something really interesting with a client in the Far East now, and that's going to be a medical device.
Mm,
So it has a lot of margin in it. A lot of times we're thinking in terms of products. Anti-aging serums. The the pills, the powders, that sort of stuff. But also in alternative health, we've got devices as well, which can be, heading up to six figures. And so in this case, yeah, I can't, like I gotta kind of, but it's really an interesting market. So you just need to get yourself a small list. You can even get like a list of 5,000 buyers, and as long as they've raised their hand in the past and shown they're interested in this market, what wrinkle reduction.
Mm-hmm.
Your answer isn't only the thing that you can get at CVS or Walgreens or what is it, Woolworths in Australia, but you can also get a $50,000 device that targets wrinkles too, without naming any names. So
Interesting.
it is. There's a hell of a lot more margin involved in those products.
Yeah, sure. Well, you've spent well over $1 million getting your name on different lists as far as your archivist work goes, right? Trying to keep your names on lists to see what's working, see what gets mailed.
Some of that also was from wash sale trading when I mistakenly thought I was a trader, right? And then I got
Okay.
kicked in the teeth enough times and said, you know what? I'm better suited in the creative realm. But yeah, I've spent many fortunes, getting, buying products, subscriptions, and it's worth it when you think about it in terms of an investment. And I guess I got that idea from Gary Bencevenga back, 20 years ago in May of 2005. He said, don't just be a producer, be a consumer. Let yourself kind of like go free and experience persuasion from both sides of the coin, both
Sure.
as the marketer, copywriter, and also as the consumer. And yeah, that's how you get to, I guess, you fortify your chops that way.
Yeah. Um, I I have a number of coins that my uncle has given me over the years. Um, but I recently have been like, oh, I got to get on those lists. I got to go buy something just to see what they're sending me.
Well, you're in Minnesota,
Yeah.
Jeffrey, and there are two fantastic companies that are in your neck of the woods. I think actually in the Twin Cities, if I'm not mistaken, right
Yeah.
outside. Uh,
Government
yeah,
is one. And what's the other one?
Stour,
Yes.
the costume. Well, they're better names. It's not costume jewelry anymore. That's like a boomer's old school parlance for the product. But
Sure.
yeah, these are some of the best marketers in the game in any market, and they produce some great stuff. Government. Yeah.
Mhm.
Are you on any of their list, or do you see any of their?
I'm not on the Stour list, although I did see some ads recently,
Yeah,
and I took pictures of them because I wanted to remember the ads and maybe reach out to see what they're up
yeah.
to. Um, but
They
I'm
have
on
a
the
great copywriter. I think with David Deutsch told me years ago that one of his
oh
mentees was one of their chief copywriters, and they always have something great. The headline is always grabs your attention
yeah.
in a startling way.
Yeah,
Yeah,
and then the government, I'm on their email list, but I haven't gotten anything physical from them.
yeah, yeah.
But I do have a few of the magazines that my uncle had given me because I asked. I was like, oh, I want to see what they're writing about, in their copy.
Oh yeah.
You had mentioned that, or not mentioned, but on your site a month or two back, or I don't even know, how Halbert for I think Haley's Comet had his own coins minted, saying this is like
Yeah.
once in a lifetime opportunity.
Well, it was right. It's
Yeah, absolutely.
once every 78 years.
Yeah,
I mean, you can't argue with that, right? Haley's
yeah,
I think it is 78 years. It could be 76. I won't stake my salvation on it. But
yeah.
yeah, that is, think about it, right? So actually, uh, the bicentennial plus 50 years is going to be next year also, right?
Hmm.
Now,
Hmm.
there's a name for that. I'll mangle it if I try to recall it. But, I was around in 1976. I mean, I was young, but, the stampede of promotions for everything related to bicentennial. I mean, there were billions of dollars that were made just by marketers who figured out the angle. So, sure, you could use it prosaically as a retail store. You have a bicentennial sale, but memorabilia, all kinds of things related to flags. I mean, lots of flags are sold. Um, I don't know if you know Ben Suarez, but he writes about that, and I think it's in his book. Trying to recall the name of it.
I don't know his book.
7 Steps to Freedom.
Okay.
7 Steps to Freedom. Yeah. If you can find that book also on Amazon or Abe Books or anywhere, it's like a friend of mine in Tucson who was very successful in the real estate agents market. We both were having lunch and said that book is probably worth like about 50 grand, if you put the information to use. And
Okay.
7 Steps to Freedom 2, I think it was. But yeah, and in that book, I think Suarez mentioned that they just sold some ungodly number of flags. Put
Yeah.
an ad in a newspaper, have an order coupon, buy your flag here. So this is
Huh.
something I don't hear anybody else talking about this, but yeah, the
Yeah.
50th anniversary of the US is a big deal. And yeah, it's going to kick off, not that long from now. So
Yeah. Everybody get ready, right?
yeah, yeah, absolutely. But yeah, Halbert with the Haley's Comet coin. I know you could just study the coupon for that ad and the strategies that he uses for upsell, so when the person actually got their Haley's Comet silver coin, they got an upsell to buy a dozen coins, but they were limited to a dozen. You can't
Okay.
order more than a dozen, right? And then
Mhm.
what does that do? It motivates sales.
Oh yeah.
And then he also had an upsell for gold coins too. So again, this goes back to this concept of why am I going to sell a $2 bill for $2? I want to get somebody to raise their hand and tell me, they're in the currency and coin market. They're interested in numismatics. And guess what? Inside of this newsletter, yeah, it's a newsletter by the gold bullion dealer. It has your newsletter is enclosed, but I can buy as much, silver bullion as I want, silver rounds, coins, ancients, all of that stuff, all the good stuff. Stuff like this. There. More flashing, right? So,
Yeah.
so
Nice.
yeah.
Walking Liberty there.
Yeah, yeah. I'm very suggestible. So when I get something like this, guess who's buying, right? So
Yeah, that's what they say. Marketers are the easiest ones to buy.
absolutely. Yeah. The salesmen are the easiest people to sell to.
Yeah.
Yeah. And I realize it. I enjoy the process. Doesn't bother
Yeah,
me.
there's a lot to say there about I don't know who did I just hear this from recently? But the idea that it might have been from you actually. The whole people want to have fun during the process, right? They want to read the ad, they want to be teased by the bullets, they want to not understand how this is possible, cleaning your drawers with a vacuum without emptying them kind of thing. How do you do that? And that it's the fun of the whole process is part of it for so many buyers.
It can be when you see somebody that's really good at it, and you've trained your eye because you've been in this since 2017 and you've interviewed a lot of people, I'm sure, more brilliant than I. I know you told me you interviewed Drayton Bird and Bob
Yes.
Bly recently. So
Yeah.
Drayton, he's 89 years old and going to be holding his seminar in Thailand in next month,
I know. Are you going?
October 2025. So on the fence. On the
Yeah.
fence.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good for
Yeah.
you.
I have a friend that's going to be one of the speakers there, and yeah, and I did a blast for Drayton a month ago or so, and then he said, "How do you fancy the idea of going to Thailand?" And I said, "Well, let me think about it."
That's pretty
But
good.
yeah, I mean anything that he offers at 89. He's
Yeah.
been there, done that, and he's always got something relevant and useful and
Hmm.
to say. So
Yeah.
and teach.
You're listening to another exclusive interview from the Persuasion Play Podcast with Jeffrey Thomas. Do you put on any do you put on any events yourself?
I've not. I'm sort of have like that copywriter's inclination, which is sit behind a keyboard. But I mean, I do travel and meet clients, now and then, not too often. But I mean, I do travel and meet them. I
Mhm.
met a lot of colleagues that I've had for 20 years, that live in Australia. I met them earlier this year.
Nice.
And, so
Is there a big direct response community in Australia?
that, they have some excellent marketers there,
Yeah.
very good marketers. And the reason why their population is less than a tenth of ours,
Yeah, sure.
right? So even though you've got cities like Sydney and Melbourne that, got 5 million people, you've only got, I think it's less than 25 million people that live in the country, right?
Mhm.
So, and I have a longtime client, 20 years, who used to advertise in the Sydney Morning Herald virtually every day. $15,000 for a full page back then, in
Mhm.
the 90s. And yeah, he made out well at that time when print
Yeah,
advertising was still, ruled the roost. Um,
sure.
but yeah, so you have to be an especially good marketer to earn your keyboard. That's his take too. That's Scott's take as well as what I've gathered from all these brilliant Aussies. Did you know 1 out of every 10 Australian adults is a millionaire?
I did not
Yes.
like those odds.
I was at church a couple of weeks ago, and there was a big bodybuilder from Tasmania, and I met him for the first time. And he owns some really giant motorcycle exchange. Lives half time in Phoenix, I guess, and half time in Tasmania.
Okay.
So, and yeah, he's the one that told me that. Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
I wonder if it's
And I realized, yeah, that's why. Everybody was gracious. I said, I'll pick up the tab. They said, no, pick up the tab, Lawrence. I'll pick up the tab. And that's, well, yeah, it's a couple of good ones. Scott Bywater is there. Nikesh the Corlil is there. Peter Nicholas, who was big in infomercials and mineral makeup. He launched his own mineral makeup company, worked pretty closely with him for years. They just have a lot of great talent over there.
my dog's barking. Give me a quick second, would you?
Oh, I can't hear him or her.
Well, that was it. Oh
Uh,
no. Okay.
wait till mine barks. Yours ain't nothing. Yeah.
They'll be talking.
He's part German Shepherd. He's Labrador, but he has very strong guard instinct. So, if the Amazon driver's outside or UPS driver, forget it. Yeah, you won't hear me. So
Yeah, oh, yeah, my dog too. It goes crazy.
that's the risk we take, of, forging our lives as entrepreneurs from our homes, right?
Yeah. Yeah, having, like I said, my son just turned 10, my daughter's 12, and having them back to school is like finally a little bit of freedom back in my
Yes,
office. So
yes, I understand that very intimately. Yep,
yeah,
yeah, it's nice.
yeah. So what beyond the gold bullion, what are you working on right now?
Beyond the what? I'm sorry.
Beyond the numismatics, what are you working on?
Oh, well, I don't really do that much in numismatics. Yeah, but so in terms of my own stuff, actually, I
Sure. Yeah.
want to migrate to something which is going to have a lot longer staying power. And I'm thinking that ad encyclopedia is going to be it. So it's going to be
Mm,
like a wiki of winning ads type of concept.
nice. Yeah.
Um, and so, I sometimes I just go to that blog that I referenced before, which is from 2007. Yeah, and I'll look at the comments, and I'll also look at the links that people will have added at the comments. And
Yeah.
those sites don't exist anymore. And people come and go in marketing, right? I mean, you'll
Mhm.
get somebody who's a red hot customer in XYZ market, 1 month, and then a month later, they couldn't care less about it. One of the great things I've noticed, over the years with copywriting, direct response marketing is there are people who are long timers, who stay in it, and well, basically they earn their keep from either direct mail or email or whatever it is. It could
Mhm.
be infomercials, could be radio. So they stay in it, and then there are people who dabble also. I say, I want to learn how to write a good sales letter. Let me join this guy's list. In the year 2000, there were, probably this many people who could. Now it's, stretch it out from California to, Florida. This is how many people are experts, and it can help them in all the different departments, right?
Sure. You're likely familiar with the website archive.org.
Oh,
But you can put in a URL, somebody put a link on your infomarketingblog.com site. You could put that URL in, and there's a chance that archive.org has a snapshot of it.
oh yeah.
And what I really think is cool is you can look at different snapshots in time, and you can kind of see where they've tested the changes and then see what sticks around over time.
Absolutely. What's even more fascinating, and I referenced Dan Kennedy before, and I think he's the one that conveyed this concept. But somebody can be a copywriter. Let's say it's year 2005. And
Hmm.
then in year 2010, they're a branding expert. And then in year 2015, you know what I'm saying? It's
Yeah,
like
sure.
you're kind of like you're in one a market or you're in one area and it's kind of bending and it's blurring and it's going to all and then 20 years later, somebody else is completely different. They're speech writing expert, branding expert,
Hmm.
fill in the blank expert kind of thing. And that's just the nature of business, right? I mean, what do you think about graphic designers today and AI, right? Because I notice one thing interesting about AI. Some people have immediately overnight become experts in AI,
Oh yeah.
and then other people don't mention it at all because, well, I don't want to put my foot in my mouth, right? My job as a copywriter, frankly, it's going to be gone in 90 days because the next version of ChatGPT is just going to take all the stuff that I'm referencing, all of the direct mail, all of the stuff that I'm using. It's going to have it in its language model, and you're just going to have the super prompt, which is going to write your sales letter, and it's going
Yeah.
to blow me away, right? And I mean, I saw this as a kid playing chess in New Jersey in the 80s, right? I was a chess junior. Chess computers had just come out. They were the first proving ground for AI. And, the kid in New Jersey who was maybe like 1400 USCF rating, which is somebody who's like a decent player, he could demolish, the standalone piece of hardware. Then a few years later, it was challenging grandmasters. And then in 1990, what was it, six? It was playing the world champion, and people said, "Oh no, it'll never beat a master, the AI, the computer. Oh no, no, it'll never beat a grandmaster. Oh, it'll never beat the world champion." Well, in the second six-game match, yeah, the chess computer, Deep Blue, it did beat the world champion, right? So, are we in the same place, 30 years later, in terms
Hmm.
of copy and marketing and that sort of thing? So, I don't know the answer to it, but I just know I remember that conversation in the field of chess, 30 years ago, 40 years ago, where
Hmm.
people would say, "Oh, it'll never beat a master. We don't have anything to worry about." Well, guess what? People still play chess. They still go to tournaments. They still play chess. They have their board and pieces and clock and and so now the chess engine that you've got on your phone, right? This can beat the world champion, but it can also help you to prepare, right? So you can look up your opponent's games ahead of your game with him and all that kind of stuff. So probably we'll be doing the same thing with copy. Who knows, in another 6 months, 6 years, who knows? I don't know.
Yeah. I'm talking a bit with Denny Hatch, and he's really impressed with AI. He just
Oh,
turned
yeah.
90, and he's interested in putting all his grand controls. He's an archivist as well. All his grand controls into a
He's an archivist. He's the archivist,
yeah, he
right?
is. I'm actually helping him republish his book.
He's incredible. I mean,
Yeah,
he's yeah.
I'm helping him republish his book, The Secrets
Oh,
of Emotional Hot Button Copywriting.
oh, nice.
Yeah,
That's the kudos on that. Yeah, yeah, yeah. That's a great collaboration, Jeffrey. Yeah, I can't wait till that hits the press.
yeah,
Yeah,
send you a copy for sure. But he's
I'll
interested.
buy it. That's okay.
Okay.
And I mean, for how many years did he put out Target Marketing, also the magazine?
Yeah.
I mean, all of the stuff that he published for 20 years. The people who are experts on all these different topics, direct mail, email, print, list selection, all that, and he was writing, and his contributors were writing world-class stuff about that 30 years ago.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, it's
you
really
want to
interesting.
be brilliant, get one of Denny's articles from Target Marketing from March 2008, get AI to jumble it and then publish it as your own. Yeah, I'm the expert in XYZ. So
There you go. Sure.
but yeah,
So
yeah,
it
he's
comes time to test you, I suppose, huh?
yeah.
Yeah, but he's interested in using AI to do that. And not that he's wrong, but there's anybody could do that, like especially
Yes.
I think once you upload content to ChatGPT, sure, you can maybe train it or have it focus on that content to generate your next copy, but
Yeah.
it's now in the system. And as far as I understand it, everybody pretty much has a back end access to that somewhere in the system.
Right. When you read that disclaimer that whatever
Mhm.
and I don't think there is such a disclaimer, but even if there were, and they say, oh, well, you won't wind up, you can be pretty sure that it's going to wind up inside of that,
Uh-huh.
gazillion terabyte, language model somewhere. But what are your thoughts about that in copywriters, if I may ask?
You know, um, I'm not entirely sure. I use ChatGPT for some research and some light image generation on occasion.
Yeah.
But I don't really use it to write it. I feel like and this is probably going to change, but I feel like it's kind of cold. It's kind of uh,
Yeah.
fact-based and repetitive, not repetitive, but the cadence of the writing is repetitive.
Sterile,
Yeah.
emotionless. Yeah, 100%. I mean, there's some pricier stuff, and there's one called Manus. I don't know if you heard of that, Jeffrey. It's
Mm.
Chinese-based language model. It's a little pricier than ChatGPT, but yeah, it can generate some pretty incredible stuff research-wise. So not for the final draft of copy. Granted, it's a great proofreader.
Mhm.
So I mean, I think every copywriter is using it to proof their copy. At least these horrible gaffes or typos. Miss our uh, miss. That we miss.
Yeah.
But Manus, yeah, is something that's pretty fantastic for research. Yeah, so far. Um, yeah.
Yeah, I don't know that one. That's cool. Yeah, there's certainly a lot more than just copy generation that ChatGPT can help with.
Yeah, for
Oh,
sure.
it speeds up work in that regard.
Yeah, yeah.
It's also a little nerve-wracking, but what are you gonna do? There's a
Yeah,
lot.
just umlauts. There's no M dashes. You say, ChatGPT, write my copy but don't use a single M dash because that's the telltale that AI has written your copy. Yeah, so
So they say. I still write. I still use them. Um, yeah, Dan Kennedy's got a product called Personality and Copy,
oh yeah,
or
great.
maybe that's just the topic. I don't know if that's actually, but
No,
it's
I think it was a dedicated actually probably was dedicated event that he held. Yeah,
sure. Yeah,
personality
it's just
copy.
audio recording of that.
Oh yeah, yeah.
But it's like more and more that's going to be how you
I
stand.
I agree 100%. Yeah, that's showing showing the warts as I think probably Gary Halbert was the one who well, he didn't coin the term, but as far as, you being a marketer, a copywriter with an audience, showing the warts is like, because that's one of the things I think that bores people to tears is when someone says, "Oh, I'm the best," refers to themselves in the third person, everything I produce is great. I mean, come on. It's just not the case. It's not the case in sports. It's not the case in fiction. It's not the case in literature.
Yeah.
Woody Allen has a great book, Woody on Woody Allen, and
Okay.
he produced something like 50 films, right? I mean,
Yeah.
he directed 50 films. Sorry. So I said, I never thought about whether they were good or bad. I just wanted to make films. Some were good, some were bad. I hope people will look back and say, hey, he made some good films, right? And
Hmm.
so I think the same is true with sales letters, right? Why should it be any different? Ads, sales letters, whatever, the promo medium is. But yeah, some are good, some are bad. You do try to, yeah, I mean, especially these guys who are writing for royalties and stuff like that. Well, they're going to have a much finer, a deeper approach than, I got to crank out, it's a midnight ride, I got to crank it out in 2 hours kind of a thing. And yeah, you don't get to mail 100 million sales letters, and get 5 cents, as a royalty on the sales letter, unless that thing has got staying power. But, frankly, not everyone is up to that challenge, right? I mean,
Sure.
not everybody can bench their body weight. Not everybody, I mean, that's the lowest standard, right? But,
Mhm.
not everybody can produce that kind of quality. So,
Yeah. But there's something like Drayton, speaking of him, he just sent an email about, most copywriters don't do this is the subject, something like that. And you open it up and it's like studying history, studying what worked, studying what failed, but more studying what worked.
yeah.
And your ad money machine and info marketing blog both have just so many examples of those things that worked and
Huh.
reasons why. And yeah, if you're not studying your history, my high school history teacher said, if you don't know your history, you don't know anything, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's absolutely true. Yeah, but I think especially with the youngins today in direct marketing, what came around 15 minutes ago is basically the extent. Their rear view mirror only goes back that far. But
Yeah.
yeah, I mean Drayton again. Yeah, he's the one. Learn from Claude Hopkins,
Hmm.
and I think Drayton is writing a book on Claude Hopkins, and Drayton's assertion is that Claude Hopkins wrote the best copy. And I mentioned, I think that Victor Schwab is really fascinating from the point of view that something he wrote in the 1950s that you and I are reading in the 2020s, it doesn't need much work, right? I mean, it's riveting reading. It's incredible
Yeah.
reading. Um, and we've got these stylistic differences and language differences over time, of course. So uh, what Hopkins was writing in the 1920s, obviously it's going to be, but the language that he uses and the persuasion, which you opened up let's talk about, that's really the key. So yeah, I can't wait till Drayton's book comes out, and yeah.
I'll have to keep an eye on that. I wasn't aware of that. Yeah, Victor Schwab, he has a, a newspaper ad from back in the day, like 100 headlines and why they work, right? And
Yeah, yeah.
he was selling his services and
Oh
to
yeah.
companies who needed to advertise, and basically he's just doing a demonstration, which was
I,
great.
I mean, can you imagine that if you were a New York Times reader in like 1961, and you open and there's a full page ad that's got 3,000 words,
Hmm.
3,000 words, and then not only does he have the headlines and the explanation why they work, but it's got this fantastic little caption, illustration, that connects to the ad, and then at the bottom of that ad it said, "Look for the second part to come." In whatever 2 weeks, it'd be like, who knew what split testing was back then, right? It's only
Sure.
because of guys like Max Sackheim or Victor Schwab,
Hmm.
that we even knew what that was, right? Unless you were in the industry or unless you read Claude Hopkins, which, like, forget about it. Who was reading Claude Hopkins?
Yeah,
They did a
right.
ton of business. Yeah, they got a ton of business. Schwab and Beatty, for sure.
I'll tell you what, though, How to Write a Good Advertisement by Victor Schwab, just bored me to death.
Did it? A
Yeah.
lot, a lot of that actually came from the ad that you referenced,
Yeah, that's
right?
probably, I know that, I don't know that, I don't know. It just, I had a real tough time getting through that one.
Okay. Speaking
But
of bored to death, what do you think of breakthrough advertising? Have you tried to tackle that?
oh yeah, I've
Yeah.
actually gone through that a couple of times. Yeah, for all of Eugene's, interest in staying current with the pop culture and being somewhat entertaining, which Hopkins advises against. Money's not fun kind of thing. But yeah, the Eugene's got great ideas, and that's a kind of a boring read as
I,
well. But
I I found it dry. I mean, that's
yeah,
been my biggest obstacle, for 25 years, is dry
yeah.
reading. Nevertheless, a lot of people who are far better writers than I am have achieved much more than I ever will. They stake their claim that this is, you got to know this book. It's changed their lives. It's changed their lives as a marketer and advertiser,
Mhm.
etc. So, yeah, I respect that, but not
Yeah,
everything is going to, gel with everyone else. So,
yeah.
that's the way it goes.
And maybe for better or for worse, I tend to do a lot of, well, underlining. Um, So after I've read a book once, I more or less will page through and read those underlined bits,
Yeah,
and get the gist again. But I
sure.
do know that there's something there if you don't do that, especially on your first read through, and then you give it a whole second read through, maybe a year or two later,
Yeah.
you end up getting different insights. And when you highlight or underline something, you might miss those second round of deeper insights.
That's a really important point, and I think that goes to the tactile aspect of reading a paper and inked, book or newsletter or publication.
Mhm.
And actually, just kind of like the same as the body. If you don't use the muscles, if you don't, and for people that as they're getting older, like the mind, right? In my case, I can feel the cognitive differences, right?
Okay.
And I remember being at the Berkshire Hathaway the Berkshire Hathaway shareholders conference. There you go with the cognitive blips, right?
Yeah.
So, I was there pretty close to the stage, and I saw Charlie Munger 99 and Warren Buffett 94 at the time. I think that so. This was the last shareholders meeting in which Charlie Munger was there, and you
Okay.
see these, 90-year-olds having a 3-hour session, then
Yeah.
lunch, then another 3-hour session, and they're doing Q&A the whole time. And that
Yeah. Well,
meanwhile, there's like 20 somethings who are sitting in front at the arena in Omaha, and they got to get up to go to the bathroom, and they got to go to the concession stand to get a hot dog, and they got to
uh,
get soda, and they just sit there answering the most complex questions and in 5 parts, and you're just amazed at like their cognitive ability. So I'm
mhm.
not sure why I went in that direction. It was supposed to circle back to a point. And I don't remember what you mentioned before, but yeah, that happens. So,
What was the point? We were talking about dry books
oh,
and
muscles. Yeah, we were talking about.
muscles.
We're talking about highlighting.
Oh yeah, highlighting. Yeah.
Highlighting,
All right, there we go.
right? So, yeah, I mean, so the mind and also the body, right? I mean, it starts to, I see people my age, who are, and I haven't been to the gym in a long time. Just that's all I've been thinking about lately. Go join the gym again. Go start doing the major exercises. Go get in shape, right? I think the same is true with copywriting, right? Because I know that I get soft. Like
Mhm. Yeah.
the stuff is not good. And I registered a domain years ago, which was neuro copywriting course. And I know there are people who have done pretty well and in terms of the success they've had at teaching this Gary Halbert technique of writing a sales letter by hand or writing a
Mhm.
print ad by hand. And I always thought what I would do is I'm going to do the ad a day by hand
Mhm.
and then put it in a neuro copywriting course. And this concept that, when you're using your hands, just like when you're driving a car and you've developed all of those, connections where, my daughter who's 16 and learning to drive a car, well, I would have a heart attack. Yeah.
Yeah.
If she dared to hang a turn like that. But I think a lot of that with the, being in shape, yeah, is so I do want to launch that product, the neuro copywriting, and I think the print ad is the perfect uh, medium to do that with.
Sure.
And I think that there are certain ads which are great, like David Ogilvy's ad for the Puerto Rican development campaign, where
Mhm.
basically he stayed up for 10 days. He wrote an ad for those 10 days. He barely bathed. He didn't leave the house. And then the ad ran, and then a year later, all these American pharmaceuticals are flocking to Puerto Rico to take advantage of the zero tax status. Um, so how could it hurt to write that ad by hand, right?
Oh yeah, it wouldn't. I mean, you're building. I was just talking to my daughter about the importance of music practice and how that is
Oh yeah,
building neurological connections. And then
sure.
hours later, my wife was talking to my son about the same idea, and that
Yeah,
as he's starting to get, he just turned 10, so as he's like going through these earlier, double digit years, his brain's going to start pruning things that it's not using because it learns stuff as a kid that is not as useful as an adult. So if you don't keep
right.
these neurons active, they'll end up being pruned, and use it or lose it kind of thing, right?
Exactly,
So
exactly.
yeah,
Yeah,
and
you really see that with language learning, especially when they're, from infants to 2 or 3 years old. Yeah. They say that like if they don't get the phonemes by a certain age, the window closes. Yeah, like exactly what
yeah,
you're alluding to. And music is the greatest, probably, you know, demonstration of tactile, development and
yeah.
and skill. Yeah.
Yeah. For more information about persuasion, motivation, and mindset, and how you can influence your brain and the brains around you, visit my website at https://goldmine.marketing.
I know.
Um, yeah, handwriting with cursive builds great neurological connections. Um, I just was looking at a thing called total whole brain power, I think whole brain power. Somebody wrote a book, but Michael Senoff was promoting like this
Oh yeah.
interview back around it.
Oh,
And
is
one
it?
of the things that they talk about is not only the importance of cursive handwriting, not print, but actual handwriting, but also training yourself to do it with your non-dominant hand. I'm a lefty.
Oh,
Um,
that's. Would
a
you
lot
mind
of
sending that to me? I don't.
yeah,
I don't know whether Michael has switched me off his list or he's a fantastic guy. I've known him for 22 years. Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. Yeah, I wouldn't mind seeing that. This idea of writing with your non-dominant hand is really captivating. I
uh,
don't know if you heard of that book, Write It Down, Make It Happen. There's a lot
no,
of books in this niche, yeah, like in this about the value of writing. So for your daytimer,
mhm,
when the Blackberries came out, people started using Blackberries back then and
yeah,
that stuff. And so now, obviously, those are gone, and we're using smartphones. But they say that just writing your to-do list, on the sheet of paper for the day, and at least doing that
mhm,
is activating far more power than whatever you've got in Google Keep or whatnot. So
mhm. Yeah, one of the things on the handwriting was, and I'm a lefty, so this applies less to me, but how the left side of the brain body connects to the right side of the brain, which is the creative side.
really,
So Senoff's idea was by training yourself to write with your left hand, you end up tapping and building the creative side of your brain, which is good for marketing. I'm already left-handed, so I could probably,
Yeah.
I don't know. Either way, I'm still interested in the idea. Very cool idea.
This is Mike's own book, huh?
No, it's a different guy's book. I could look it up. Give me 30 seconds.
Oh, all right. Yeah. One side is the lizard brain. I want,
No, they're both part of the neurocortex, neocortex rather.
yeah,
Uh, but the lizard brain is like the fight, freeze, or flight response. This
yeah.
is the whole brain power coaching. I'll forward it to you as well, but it's written by Michael J. Lavery,
Oh,
Lavery.
okay. Interesting. All right.
Yeah.
Elaborate.
So I think I don't know if the promotion's done or not, but you might
Okay.
be out of luck on getting the deal. I did not get it. It looked interesting, but I got a lot of other things going on in life, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Well,
Yeah, another thing that they talked about was um, I think maybe Lavery, the author, saw Tiger Woods bouncing a golf ball on his club head. So he
yes.
decided to try doing that. So this guy got pretty good at doing it with a club head. So then he started using a hammer, and then he started using a sledgehammer, and then he started using two sledgehammers at the same time. He's like, like unlocking all these different things in his brain that, it's just, if nothing else, it's coordination, but it was pretty interesting.
Well, I like the visual of knocking a golf ball on a sledgehammer. Forget about two. I don't even know.
Yeah.
I don't have the grip strength and I don't have the forearm strength to hold the bloody sledgehammer, let
Well,
alone bounce a golf ball on it. But you know what? I'll take 5% better copy overall on all of the stuff that I do. So
sure. Yeah.
I think yeah. I mean probably both actually. Yeah. So
Yeah,
but
one of the pictures of the guy when I was looking at it, he's holding a sledgehammer. Like I don't know how well you can see me, but with one hand fully out, and the sledgehammer is just like an inch from his nose.
that's
You've
incredible.
got apparently his forearms are like steel.
Yeah.
Pretty interesting.
Right. Fascinating.
Yeah,
Absolutely fascinating.
yeah.
Yeah.
There's a whole world of ideas out there. I don't. It's always curious to me how many I'm not privy to.
Yeah. Well, I think you alluded to an interesting point earlier about highlighting and going back and reading the same highlights. In my case, I find that, even years later, and maybe you're biased when you're actually seeing that in the yellow band versus seeing it, the black ink on the white paper.
Mhm.
But I do see the value of going back and reading those highlights, years later. But I think the same concept applies to books, the books that are really the classic books. And again, I think it was David Deutsch who mentioned this. There are like six favorite advertising books of his, and instead of reading brand new books, and we have all. You go back and read, you
The
say
winners.
reality in advertising, or you go back and read scientific advertising, or um, Ogilvy on advertising, and just keep reading those same books over and over again.
Mhm.
So I guess you can have some percentage that's allocated for new books, but maintain at least a certain segment for rereading and getting new insights from those classics. That
Yeah,
that that has something to say for it. Yeah,
they're classics for a reason.
yeah, yeah.
And
Absolutely.
they've driven a whole lot of marketers smarter than myself towards really big success.
Yeah,
So,
that's the interesting thing, though, that this comparative aspect in marketing. So, I mean, on any given day, you can be better than yourself, 30 days ago. You can also be better than somebody who's hailed as the best writer in blank. And that really gets me because there would be these message boards, for years. And they would say, who's the best copywriter? Well, first of all, which language are we talking about? Okay. Because I have friends all over the world who write in different languages. Have a lot of subscribers from Brazil, who are Portuguese is their language. They all speak English too. They're
mhm.
brilliant people. Back when direct response like caught fire in Brazil, maybe 20 years ago or whatever, these were virgin markets. You would come in with a sales letter that knocked it out of the park in the US,
Yeah.
translated to Portuguese. This was before Google Translate. This is before obviously ChatGPT. You count your money. Yeah, I had a client who went from Copy Cup to 20 million a year in supplements, uh,
Wow.
and probably did that in 2016, something like that. And I think he was Roberto Altenhofen, who was a copy chief at one of Agora's affiliates in Brazil, and name escapes me right now. But anyway, yeah, his Copy Cub went on to, start a 20 million a year supplements company just because of how hot it was at that time. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. So,
I was hired by a company to write social media posts, and they also did a meat delivery service and a fuel
meat
delivery.
delivery service.
Yeah. Okay. So this was in um, Saudi Arabia, United Arab Emirates, I believe.
Oh yeah,
So there's a big music fest. So I wrote a number of social posts about promoting the music fest, and then they hired me to do social posts and ads for this meat delivery service. Like you could get halal meat butchered and delivered in 3 hours for
oh yeah,
these giant um, Ramadan feasts.
oh yeah,
And they hired me for fuel delivery for like trucking fleets. And maybe this is a market sophistication thing, but they had zero interest in it having like talking about benefit or benefit behind the benefit or any,
right.
like they're like, our market doesn't understand that. You just have to give really straight data. And I was like, and why? And then, so I'd write it in English and then they translate it. It's like, I don't understand why we're doing this. You're like,
Isn't that fascinating how a guy in Minnesota can be writing for a client that's in UAE? I mean,
mhm.
this is pretty fascinating. It's the magic of the internet, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. But yeah, that was quite
Yeah,
fascinating.
I know some excellent marketers really all over the world. A lot of times the English speaking countries, UK, Canada, Australia, New Zealand,
Mhm.
great marketers, not just Australia, which I mentioned, but Commonwealth country marketers. But I know some great ones in France also, and Germany, and obviously there's Norman Rentrop in Germany who started publishing ads when he was 11 years old in the newspaper.
Cool.
And then went on to become a billionaire and to develop, one of the biggest brands, newsletter publishing in Germany and France. And yeah, he's been a client for a while, and got to meet him last time at the shareholders meeting that I mentioned before in Omaha.
Mhm.
And so 4:30 in the morning, everybody's lined up around I think it's the Kia Center. Um, as in CHIA, like the health, not the car, right?
Okay.
And so all of the shareholders, uh, millionaires, and somebody who owns one share alike are queued up at 4:30 in the morning, and I think that once you get the billionaire status, you can go through the back door to get in there. So I think Norman got in through the back door, but yeah, just you learn so much from these brilliant marketers in other countries because they have different compliance, they have different, reference points. They also have a little different style, right? Sometimes like the American style can be brash.
Mhm.
You ever
Mhm.
notice that with like British advertising? It's
Mhm.
a little more sophisticated,
Yeah.
and sometimes a little more the vocabulary is a little more elegant sometimes too.
Sure.
But
Yeah.
I guess, with Drayton in the vanguard of the copywriters in the English language, yeah, his perennial advice is to always chop, cut, edit, and never use those words. But I do rather like them, sometimes. So, you know.
What words are those?
Oh, marketing that's a little bit more like the 50-cent words that you whip out once in a
Oh,
while,
sure. Yeah.
and sometimes there can be a point of distinction between you and everybody else. But of course, the problem is that somebody's like, what's this bloke on about?
Oh, yeah.
You're writing some kind of, sophisticated thing to show off your education, and then you
Yeah.
you lose them, in the second paragraph, right? So,
Yeah.
but
Yeah, that's always it's it's a concern of a lot of hot air. I just wrote something about the what was it? phys.org, PHYS or something.org, had an article about this, on how jargon in the workplace, which is, I think, both a mix of like industry specific speaking,
Yeah.
also just the concept of elevate or whatever, or let's circle back. These words that are,
Yeah, circle back. Oh, that's one of my pet peeves. Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
You see that a lot in this automated CRM. You'll submit a message and they'll have some, we'll circle back to you, or we'll chase up is what they say in Australia also, we'll chase up on the invoice or whatnot. Yeah. But yeah, that's part of copy, right?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. But how using those things can confuse people and make them feel dumb, and then therefore they don't want to interact with you anymore.
Interesting. Interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But at the same time, showing that you know the language can help signal your status as an insider, which is something that Oren Klaff says in Flip the Script. It's like, oh, so
Oh, all
his
right.
suggestion is start with that to signal that you're an insider, but then kind of ease off.
He's a pretty good marketer and publisher. Yeah, I have a friend also from Australia who's very fond of him. Yeah, he's supposed to be pretty brash. He'll walk into some meeting and say, "All right, you expletive, let's get the show on the road," or something along those lines. But yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. So yeah.
Well, that's cool. Well, what do you got going the rest of the day, Lawrence?
I've got a ton of deadlines to meet for the best and the worst client. One of them is me, right?
Oh yeah.
So and as well as some other stuff. But yeah, but I'm a family man ultimately, so you can't, you've got three kids. I mean, two of them are adults, but there's a difference between us and the marketers and copywriters who don't have any kids, right? And so
Mhm.
somebody could write a book about that. It was Ryan Healy. I don't know if you know who Ryan Healy is, but he pointed that out something like, I don't know, 20 years ago. He said, here are the marketers who don't have kids. Here are the marketers who have kids, and look at the productivity. So we can't compare ourselves,
Yeah, 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 sure.
all things being equal. But of course, when they're all out of the house, then I've lost that excuse for why my productivity was lacking, for the day. So, but
It's nap time.
yeah, exactly. Well, all right,
Good.
Jeffrey, I enjoyed, yeah, having to chat with you. Yeah,
Lawrence, me too. I really appreciate your time.
yeah,
Thank you.
thank you.
All right, well, I'll be in touch. I'll let you know more about the book when that comes out, and you got to have
Oh
your
yeah,
own
please do. I can't
your
wait. Yeah,
book.
you and Denny Hatch collaborating. Yeah, that's incredible.
When's your book coming out?
That's a great question. So I've got a couple of them side by side, and I think what I plan to do is the series. I'm going to have books in a series.
Okay.
So I don't want to just have a book. I want to have at least the door open to having the series.
Hmm.
And yeah, maybe I'll ping you for some pointers. Yeah, for
That'd
my
be funny.
publication debut. But
Yeah,
yeah,
right on.
it's long overdue.
I don't know where I heard it, but somebody said if you have, I think it required three, but maybe it's just two books in a series. You can kind of like copyright or register, I guess, the
Yeah.
series name, and then you got it. So
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I've filed, a sufficient number of trademarks in my day over the years,
sure,
and
I suppose you
a
have.
lot of them have been abandoned, that sort of thing. But I mean, you do have to cover your bases in case you have a hit because you don't know. But
Yeah.
um, what's the old school advice? You can always just put a TM on it in the meantime and see how your sales are, and then yeah, you want to pull the trigger and get your trademark attorney to file it for you, or you could have ChatGPT do it for you, right? I guess nowadays too, right? So.
I don't know.
Yeah. So,
It's funny. All right. Hey, thank you so much. And
all right. Thank you, Jeffrey.
thanks everyone
Appreciate
for
it.
listening in. Hey, thanks for joining Lawrence and I for this fantastic conversation. You can find Lawrence Bernstein at infomarketingblog.com or admoneymachine.com. I highly recommend Lawrence's resources. He's got all kinds of great stuff out there. Go check it out. Hey, if you're a business owner or a copywriter and you're looking to earn more money, check out the resources at goldmine.marketing. It's all about direct response copywriting and direct response marketing, motivation and influence, and can help you raise your profits starting now. Don't forget to hit like and subscribe to this video and check out the playlist for additional interviews. Thanks again. My name is Jeffrey. See you next time.